100-mile-an-hour winds transformed the Palisades fire and other areas too into absolute infernos of death and destruction. And this is already the most expensive natural disaster, they say, in American history. That's pretty amazing. The numbers are going to be staggering. Most importantly, we have to get it built, and we have to hopefully find as few people as possible. We have already too many, 28 at least, they say. We're going to work very hard with the mayor, the governor, the supervisor, and everybody, and get the resources behind you. And we have some amazing people, and we have some amazing fighters for things like this. I also had the concept of getting some of the best developers in the country. I've had so many calls from developers, and they want to come in. They don't want anything. They just want to come in and help, and they really know how to get things done and get things built. I would ask that the local officials, because we're going to waive, just about essentially waive all federal permits. We're going to have you go very quickly, because a federal permit can take 10 years. We're not going to do that. We don't want to take 10 days. I would.
10 years? 10 years for a federal permit? Gosh, the red tape is crazy in this country.
So we're declaring this a national emergency. By doing that, I can give you immediate permits. I'd ask that the local permitting process be the same. Some of the people were saying they're going to be forced to wait 18 months for their permits, and I don't think you're going to do that. I can't imagine that. So they are literally in a position right now they'd like to start tonight, and they'll clean their site, they'll do everything. They just want to start, and they were very concerned with the 18 months. So I'm sure you can get it down to, I would say, not even 18 days. They are ready, Mayor. They are ready to start.
This is the thing that Trump was going back and forth with Karen Bass about, which, again, we talk about incompetent leadership. But this is the thing that Trump was going back and forth with Karen Bass about making sure that she expedite the process and use her emergency powers similar to how Trump is using his emergency powers in order to get things done. We always see a whole long, protracted process and the permitting process and going through all of this red tape and hoops. And these people can't even clear the side of their homes that they own. They're being restricted by the local governments from being able to go in and assess and take care of business and get their homes rebuilt. Meanwhile, the people over there in North Carolina, which Trump just flew in from before he headed over to California, people over there in North Carolina, J.D. Vance just so happened to start finding these people housing so that they can start the process of rebuilding and healing and going through the process of what they need to do in North Carolina to rebuild. Thankfully, we've halted any federal funds that's going out to any foreign entities so that we can start to invest back in the United States of America, because America is closed and we up for rebuilding right now. We got to fix America. And what a lot of people don't understand is one of the reasons why he declares federal emergencies from these situations is because it allows for him to be able to execute on his executive powers to clear the way for things to get done. It's similar to what happened during the pandemic. It's similar to what happened, if you go to war or something like that, you can then declare something as a federal emergency to bypass all of the different red tape and the processes that allow for people to get things done and get certain things mandated, which you would normally have to jump through all of these hoops, which in my opinion, I believe that we should start to have some form of a permanent version of removing this stuff and letting things expedite the process so that the federal government and these local agencies, they can't figure out how to finesse the people and they're giving out more money. But yeah, man, I love the fact that he's continuing to push things forward. He's gotten more things done, again, in the first 5-6 days of him being in office than we've even seen Biden and Kamala Harris. We didn't even see Kamala Harris until it was campaign season.
I met so many of them. The fire took place. It's nice and cool there now, and they want to start taking the debris. They want to take the debris. They want to do everything. They'll get rid of everything. They're going to do it by their own hand. And you're going to see some amazing things happen. So we're waiving the federal permits. either waive them or give them to you so rapidly it's going to be essentially the same thing, but we're going to try and just waive them. And we'll rely on the local, but the local, I hope, is going to do the same exact thing. They're literally ready to start right away tonight. So if you could do almost the same thing or the same thing would be great. For a building permit, you're going to have to, check things out a little bit. A lot of them, every single one of them said they're going to rebuild. I didn't have one person say they're selling or they're leaving or they're disgusted. They love their community, and it's incredible. We even had one from your neck of the woods, right? Yeah. You want to stand up? It was so nice the way she greeted my wife in a very different language, right? And it was very nice to see. And you're staying and you're going to rebuild and everything else. Yeah, everybody. So it's really great. So I'm signing an executive order to open up the pumps and valves in the north. We want to get that water pouring down here as quickly as possible and let hundreds of millions of gallons of water flow down into Southern California. And that'll be a big benefit to you. If you don't want it, you're going to tell me, but I can't imagine it. I tell you who does like it is the fire department. When I said that, they were very happy with that. They didn't mind hearing that. But we have
It's crazy that not only A, do we have to have a natural disaster for us to turn on the pumps for people to have water, but B, we had to get a president that was competent enough to just make common sense decisions to say that, yes, we need to turn on the flow of the water so that California can have hundreds of millions of gallons of water so that A, they can fix any kind of fires, and then B, they can prevent it from being able to be spread, and so everybody's homes is not affected anyway. If California don't flip red after this, I don't know what else you got to do.
a lot of water that is available, and I hope you can work that out among yourselves. But I think this will show that we have to have that water. We have to have that water. You're talking about unlimited water coming up from the Pacific Northwest, even coming up from parts of Canada, and it pours down naturally. It has for a million years. For a million years, it pours down. You'll never run out. You'll never have shortages, and you won't have things like this. And when you do, you'll have a lot of water to put it out. So I'm going to ask that you figure that out. But I really strongly recommended this 7 years ago, and I think I'm going to just do it. If you have big problems, you're going to let me know, but I just can't even imagine it. But we're also surging federal resources and assistance to the state, and California must adopt the common sense policies to prevent fires, and we all know that. We were talking 7 or 8 years ago, I was talking to people from Austria, people from Finland, people that live in forests. One of the gentlemen, one of the top great leaders of Austria said, we don't have forest fires, and we have trees that are actually far more flammable than they have in California, but they literally rake their forests. They take down, if a tree comes down, they take it down. They say you have 18 months. After that, it's like a matchstick. And I know environmentally, some environmental groups like the trees to just melt into the ground, but when they do melt into the ground, they become an inferno. So I think you're going to have to change your ways in terms of that. You have 30 years of leaves, and those leaves are dry as a bone, and they burn. Interestingly, because I was at Paradise, who is the general, right? A long time ago, I was at Paradise. What a beautiful paradise it was. And how is it doing, by the way? Are they rebuilding, right? Remember when he said, you were up here, President. I went there. I never saw anything like it. But you know what amazed me? I'll never forget it. The trees were okay, because the trees are loaded with water. They sucked that water out of the ground. And this was an inferno, just like, I would say no different than this. And it was also the wind that caused a lot of problem. I mean, you had tremendous winds that there's not a lot you're going to do with. You had up to 100-mile-an-hour winds. It's unheard of. But when I was in Paradise, I noticed that the trees, they were dark on the bottom, but they were absolutely living, and they lived because they're soaking wet. But the trees that were on the ground, within 12 to 18 months, they say 18 months at a maximum, you have to cut them up, take them away, because they're matchsticks. But we saw that. You saw that with me. I commented at the time. I said, look at this. The house is burned down, and the tree is standing, and it's other than being a little different color on the bottom, and it went through an inferno. It's amazing. It's soaking wet.